Hello, we might start here. And after traveling the world for the past 3 years, growing my social network, and getting financially ahead, I have one quote that sums up what I've learned traveling. What it comes down to, it's really not you, it's your environment. Now, the inspiration for today's video stems out of me visiting my hometown after taking a little bit of a break from traveling, and I ran into a coach. This coach happened to be a student that went to my high school, about 2 to 3 years younger than me. And we were talking about, like, hey, what do you do here for fun? Do you hang out with people? Do you still talk to people from high school? And in short, the answer was no for all of them. Like, basically, people, from the way she pointed out, that they just don't hang out anymore. And that completely aligns with how I've experienced living back at home and in other parts of America. One big example I have is I had a very good friend that quite literally lived 5 minutes away from me, and I would invite him to go hang out and just like walk, talk, get lunch. And yeah, I was like, no, I'm too busy. Like, why? I'm the answer was like, I'm working on a Sunday. Not even working. It's like getting ahead, trying to for a presentation or something. And I've also seen it too, where people like to cancel on you last minute. And I thought it was just me, but after comparing notes with other people, it seems to be more of the environment more than the individual person. Now, given that I graduated and started working full time during the pandemic, I can't really pinpoint exactly when did people stop socializing as much. Now, during the lockdowns, I was making more money than I ever had working remotely as a software engineer. And if many of you remember, asset prices were going up, like new record every day. And I was working out and I was talking to lots of people at the gym. Now, before I left on my first trip, I found out that a lot of people I knew were actually on some type of SSRI or antidepressant during this time. One girl I met at the gym, she actually told me that quite literally every woman she knew was on some type of mood enhancer. And a lot of long-term friends I met were actually quite open that they had actually been using it for much longer than the lockdowns. I know for myself, yeah, like this was a very bad time period. People were having arguments at home, people lost their jobs, had no money, that perhaps they didn't really want to tell other people in real life, and maybe that's why they didn't want to talk. The worst two areas I have lived in for maintaining a good social life was the Bay Area in California and the Washington, D.C. metro area. In the Bay, you have 70% men because you have so many tech jobs over there, and generally a software engineer cannot communicate quite well. And on top of that, they had mask mandates in a lot of restaurants and venues up until like early 2024 or late 2023. Now, in the past 3 years, I think it's only gotten much worse. I came back to visit a week or two ago, and for sure, like the tech layoff, the tech job market definitely is not helping. Inflation's through the roof. And yeah, it puts to my theory that people just don't have money to hang out, and it's not part of the culture. Now, the other metro area being Washington, D.C., you see in the news with Trump and Doge, yeah, a lot of federal workers are being laid off, so there's a general sense of angst and despair in the air. And also feeds into the belief that, yeah, if you're gonna live in a place that highly values money and you got none, you ain't gonna hang out with anybody. Now, you might blame it's just about money. Like, if people don't have money, they're not going to be happy, they're not going to socialize. And yes, I think that is 100% true in America. But I've lived in some much more poor countries, and despite the same inflation, economic troubles, they still manage to, respond to your texts, hang out, and make time for family, friends, and in inviting people over. Now, the most sociable places I have traveled to and lived in for at least a week in each were Brazil, Uruguay, Portugal, and Spain. And each of these countries have between 1/10th the average income to 1/20th the average income, that of the Bay Area or Washington, D.C. Now, the really cool part, and I assume many of the viewers are actually from North America, is when you visit these countries that people are actually interested, like, hey, why are you coming to our country as an American? Because many people in like Brazil and Uruguay, their dream is to come to America It's a lot more romanticized than how we actually know it is. Usually lured in by the fact that you're going to make 10 to 20 times more. So, in a way, you kind of have a built in friend group as soon as you land in the country. People want to talk to you, people want to ask you about where you're from, and it will invite you to a bar or their house, restaurants, etc. Now, I've only had this happen to me one time, this exact experience where I was living in southern Brazil. I was going to the gym, the supermarket, and it was a tourist area, a very safe area, I might mention. And people were curious and they wanted to practice their English with me. And I knew a little Portuguese too, but they mainly tried to speak to me in English, asking me about America, telling me how great of a country they thought it was, inviting me to the bar, inviting me to a restaurant, and showing me their Instagram. And it's not like it's a third world country where clearly trying to scam you. They were just genuinely interested and wanted to meet and talk to you. Now, I should mention that it was not Rio and it was not Sao Paulo. This is an extremely safe place. It's kind of called like the Disney World of Brazil. And yeah, no crime in the area at all. People literally just wanted to talk to me. Another personal story I have is when I lived in Barcelona, and within 1 week, I had about 10 friends, all from different countries. And yeah, we were going to the beach together, going to the club, exploring the city, going on hikes. And I had only been there for a couple days at that point. In my primary residence where I live most of the year, I would say my social life is like a 8 or 9 out of 10. The only way I could improve would, simply to stop working, stop being productive, and only partying. And that's a big comparison from maybe the 2 or 3 out of 10 I had in my hometown. Now, after comparing and contrasting how I was treated and how the general culture is between these other countries and where I had been living in the United States, I was sold that, yeah, I'm going to move abroad primarily. I do realize that we're all in different stages of the journey, and many of you might be a couple years away from being able to fully move abroad and change your environment. So I've come up with a couple tips to try to help out your social life in the meantime. One thing I really recommend people do is go talk to people at places that you're confident in, whether that be like a track, a pool, a gym, or any type of venue. And by people, I mean more than just a girl you might find attractive. You should be talking to the other men, old people, grandmas, grandpas, whatever, the staff. And that's primarily just to get social interaction and to build up your social skills. And about half the time, I have, at least talking to the older people, they actually invite me to their home. They tell me about their story, how they made their money, and it's a very invaluable networking tool. I still keep in touch with many of them that I met a couple years ago. They are genuinely just interested in sharing their advice to younger people and knowing about what you're doing. It's kind of like a, free mentorship in a way. If you're not particularly confident in any type of third place like a gym, and you're maybe a little religious to moderately, you can probably also, stop by your local church, attend a youth group, a Sunday service, and talk to people there. People at the churches are generally much kinder than the average person, on the highway honking their horn. And yeah, a very good opportunity to, two birds with one stone. Go for your Sunday service and to talk to people in your community and build up a social network that you can hang out with, go to, little retreats and restaurants and whatnot, while also maturing your speaking skills. My third and final tip for really finding out if it's you or your environment is to take your 2 weeks of paid time off and go travel in some type of country that you think the culture would fit you. In general, when you travel, you are going to be the foreigner, and people are going to be more curious to you. Like the waiter will ask you where you're from, like what do you do, for example. You're going to be going to the gym, and typically you're going to look a little different than than everyone else there, and you're going to speak with a different language and different accent. Another thing too, in vacation spots, people tend to be nicer, whether it's because of their being rich or being relaxed, and they're more down to talk to people. Meaning that if you're on vacation in a vacation spot and you can talk to someone very easily, that shows that no, it's not you who have a hard time making friends. It's like your environment back home being more or less toxic. It's kind of like, the first week of going to college or even high school if you haven't gone to college, where everyone's quite nice, everyone's kind of new, and people are there to make friends. And yeah, the second year of college, yeah, everyone made their friends already and become a lot more closed off. The other thing too, when you're traveling for these 2 weeks, many people tend to travel solo. So whether that means, finding a girl or a guy if you're a woman viewer, and, making making plans with that person, trying to see, hey, look, if I can meet this person over a random period of time, yeah, maybe it's not my fault for my dating life going bad back at home. It's like literally the environment or that other person. Also, when you're traveling, make sure to attend events and meetups. I've found that in Europe, at least, people actually attend meetup events just to hang out. So, in any city, you can type in like digital nomad meetup, and you'll find a good list of people. In the place I live, there is quite literally a nomad meetup event every day, whether it be like a party or a lunch, yoga or a workout. Like a lot of places out there, they're almost socialization first, work second, compared to a Bay Area or like Washington D.C. type of culture. Now, after you've exhausted all of these tips, it is very well quite possible that you just might not have the social skills. I've met some people that I've become friends with, but they just can't have a conversation. They are not grooming well. They're not, taking care of their body. And yeah, that's on you at that point. If you, choose a place in the world and you've tried to to talk to like people at church. If people at church aren't going to talk to you, it's probably actually something you need to work on. Well, I got some final words, and that being, you can't expect to be a healthy fish in a polluted lake. Like, if you got your money right, you got your workout routine right, and you're able to talk confidently and present yourself well, and you aren't getting the type of social life that you think you deserve, I think it's very well timed that you hop over to a much healthier lake.